If you watch my videos, you may know that Chronicles of Crime is one of my favorite game systems of the last decade, no less. And when it comes to storytelling games, or better, games that tell stories to give you a sense of a narrative, that they immerse in a story world, and you really have to think as if you were a character of that story world, well, Chronicles of Crime may just be one of my favorite. The topic, the genre is mystery, and in that I believe it even outclasses the classic and still wonderful Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective. It's just that Chronicles of Crime does something similar but better. If you don't know the system, it revolves around a companion app that you can download on your phone, and it's for free. And then you're gonna find in each box a sets of cards representing locations, characters, and mainly items and other things. And you're gonna go around scanning things, and that is the way in which you interact with the fictional world of the story. You scan a location, then you go to that location. The app tells you whom you find there, and so you're gonna place cards representing those characters there. When you scan a character, you enter a conversation with that character, and while you're in that conversation, everything else that you scan, you're talking about that thing with that character. After a while, the sense of like really being there and being interacting with these people is uncanny, and I love it. I loved some more, some less, but I've definitely enjoyed every Chronicles of Crime set so far. And here I have the latest release in the system, Chronicles of Crime 1900. So it is set in the exciting city of Paris at the beginning of the 20th century. You're a journalist, and there are several cases that you're trying to solve, and you have to solve the case by the end of the day because you're a journalist. So by midnight you need to be able to write your articles, so it'll be in your newspapers the following day. And I like that because it gives a very good justification to the fact that you have a limited amount of time. In some of the other sets, it wasn't really clear why you had to do it by a certain time. It wasn't a negative there, really, but it's a positive that is addressed here. So you are this journalist, you happen to have an uncle who is a cop, who is high in the Parisian police and always invites you to help him on his cases. How lucky is that? And so you're through your boss, who bosses you around and yells at you and tells you, go and find the news for me. And your uncle, you're gonna find information about different things that happen here. So you have here all of the things that you may already like in Chronicles of Crime. The general idea is the same. You have 4 scenarios here, although one really is just a tutorial. Then you have a scenario, the first one, which is pretty good. I wish the title was different. I can't tell you why, but I wish it was. And then you have 2 scenarios that are linked in a mini campaign. It's recommended that you play them in order because the second one has some spoilers about the first one. But then in truth, as the app also says, or it's somewhere in the rule book, they're a mini campaign, but in truth, with the exception of the fact that the second spoils the first, you can play them independently. So I almost wonder why they had to be in a mini campaign, because yeah, there are some connections, but they could have easily been created as separate from each other, and I guess that would have given you a little more flexibility. Each Chronicles of Crime after the original set adds something different to capture the flavor of the topic, or simply just to be different from the other one, so it's not a repeat. And say the noir, you had more action in there in the noir set. What this one adds is not strictly related to the 1900 age era. It is that you have puzzles. You have your usual cards that represent people you interact with and objects that you find, that you talk about, but you also have puzzles, and I'm not going to tell you exactly what they are. Also, if you're waiting for me to open this box, that's not going to happen. I want to avoid spoilers because the heart of the game is figuring out things for yourself. I don't want to give you any spoilers, even by mistake. But there will be cards that are puzzles, and if you played games in the last couple of years of the escape the room in a box genre, then you know what to expect. If you play games in the unlock system or exit or deckscape or whatchamacallit, the escape room system, I know, pretty pretty literal game. If you play those games, then you know what to expect. And to me, it's interesting because those games are going towards an increased element of storytelling, such as the Escape Tales games that I reviewed recently. So as the Escape the Room games are becoming more and more story-oriented, then you got story-driven games that are converging as they become more puzzle-oriented. So you have some puzzles here that are definitely, in my opinion, a connection, a homage to that genre of games there. Without really necessarily being related to a theme, you could have added these puzzles to any other games in the system. But as again, it gives these scenarios a different flavor, a different feel. So if you enjoy the system in general, I think you're going to enjoy this one. I think it's a good implementation of that system. All the things that you liked in previous Chronicles of Crime games are here. Plus, you have the puzzle element that, since everybody's crazy about escape rooms these days, you're probably going to enjoy. I personally enjoyed them. I found those puzzles to be interesting and fun and not particularly complicated. The ones that were, there is a hint system, which I always like. I don't know, call me lazy or whatever, but if I buy a puzzle, I like the idea of having hints. If I decide to use them, I like the idea that it's my game and I should be able to decide the level and amount of frustration that I face. There's a hint system here. This is going to help you with that. In the figure of a character, of a colleague that works with you at the newspaper, and she specializes in crossword puzzles, so she is the big puzzle master of Paris. And so you're going to ask her, hey, how about that puzzle? What can you tell me about it? So all the elements of Chronicles of Crime are there, plus a couple of interesting twists here and there that enrich gameplay and that I found pretty pleasant. The stories themselves, the one that is not part of the mini campaign, I find it to be solid, very, very solvable. I mean, I was able to solve most of it, but I didn't find it was too easy. I found it was just fair, just the right amount of challenge. Of the mini campaign, the second one also was, say, solvable. The third one, I made a big mess, and well, I guess I got lucky. But really, you know, when you get the right thing, but you realize you got it just for completely wrong reasons. Even the solution at the end told me, yes, but this was a really hard case. So yes, the third case can be a little bit disorienting. It's very intricate, but I guess it works because you do have a level of difficulty that increases from scenario to scenario if you're playing those three full-scale scenarios in order. Maybe one thing that was a little bit of a negative, or I didn't enjoy quite as much, is in the portrait. It's very important that the characters, the portrait represent the characters. They need to be very iconic. They need to be, these are the people you interact with. These are the people that drive you into the world. You spend most of the game talking to these fictional people. And it may just be because of the historical landscape, because of the topic, but it just that, especially the men, they just look a little too much like each other. Yeah, there are a couple of people that, oh, this is very different. But there's just a bunch of elegant, serious, uptight-looking men that are just not very differentiated from one another. And again, I don't know if it was just they ran out of models or whatever. It was an artistic decision. Most likely was maybe because of the landscape, the social landscape that they're portraying here. One of people conforming to societal standards, so you didn't have so many different kinds of hairstyle. There isn't a lot of diversity in terms of ethnicity, for example, and so they just look a little too much like one another to me, to be as interesting a cast as you have in other sets in the system. It's just a very, very minor thing, and you know, if this is the worst thing I can tell you about this game, that tells you that the set is good. Because the set is good. I may be biased because I love Chronicles of Crime so much, but I definitely enjoy playing these scenarios. You can play them cooperatively, you can play them solitaire, which is how I played them. I went through the entire thing by myself, and again, it was perfectly doable, perfectly enjoyable that way. So Chronicles of Crime 1900, a very fun, very solid new chapter in a saga of a system that I personally enjoy very much.